Hello everyone, welcome to Indian Masterminds. We are present here for a special section of Tales from the Legends, and the guest today with us is Padama Shree Mr. Prakash Singh, who is a 1959 batch officer. Although he doesn't need any introduction, but before we start our conversation with him, I would like to highlight some of his major achievements. He started his career as Assistant Superintendent of Police in Kanpur and served as DGP of BSF. Mr. Singh is also one of the few officers who served as DGP of two states, which includes UP and Assam. Besides this, he is also the key architect of police reform in the country and also headed inquiry of major cases, including the assassination of former CM of Andhra Pradesh and Chandrababu Naidu. So in today's conversation, we'll share his experiences and learn from his career. So welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'll start with I would like to know, you have served on various positions, including police chief of two states. So which was the most memorable experience for you?
The most memorable experience, if you want, as Director General of Police, I think the UP was the most memorable. But otherwise, if you want career-wise, total career-wise, I would say my 4
Yes.
years in Kohima and 4 years in Jalandhar, they were most memorial because Kohima I served. Kohima I served from 1965 to 68. At the very start of my career, I was posted to Kohima for 4 years. And in fact, I stayed for 4 years, not that I was posted there, but and because insurgency in Nagaland was in full swing at those days. So, I mean, even stepping out of the house meant, inviting dangers or running risks. So having stayed in that area for 4 years was quite an experience, full of thrill, full of excitement, full of adventure, full of hazards. And a stage came when the Naga rebels issued an ahza. Ahza means it's a Naga word which means a farman or an order. They issued a written order for my assassination. So that was a very traumatic period for me. And for 4 months, I lived under the shadow of death. It was a cat and mouse game. They were chasing to kill me and I was trying to dodge them. It was really, a very difficult period for me. A tremendous, I would say, a period of great mental strain because I never told my wife, and my children was too young, but I never told my wife that this is the kind of threat I'm facing. So, those 4 months were memorable. And then, as I said, career-wise, the other 4 years, which were very memorable, are the 4 years I spent in Jalandhar. I was then posted as Inspector General Border Security Force. I was looking after the Punjab border with Pakistan. And that was the period when terrorism was at its full peak in Punjab. And we were battling a very, very tough situation. In fact, people today cannot even imagine how difficult working conditions in Punjab were those days. And in fact, I had as Inspector General BSF, I had about 40 battalions under my command who were looking after the borders and also helping Punjab police in maintaining internal security. But even as commander of 40 battalions and doing my very best, at times I used to wonder whether we would be able to save Punjab and whether Punjab would remain a part of India or it would secede and become Khalistan. That was the kind of grim situation we were faced with. And it was very tough, very difficult. I think it was the toughest period of my life, 4 years in Punjab. I gave my very best. And as Inspector General BSF, I look back with a tremendous sense of pride and satisfaction of whatever contribution I've made during those 2 years, because what we did, it was something remarkable. You see, in any terrorist movement, if you study any treatise or any paper on terrorism, one of the fundamental principles in dealing with terrorism is that you should be able to stop the supply of oxygen to terrorists. What is that oxygen? What is that oxygen? Oxygen comes in the form of aid and assistance from a foreign country. See, Pakistan was providing the terrorists with weapons, with the training, with explosives, and every kind of facility and financial facility also, and also trying to raise the issue in international fora. They were giving all kinds of assistance. So this oxygen was coming from Pakistan. And while the Punjab police were doing a great job, I mean, it was, I mean, just to explain things to you, say they neutralized, say, about 10 terrorists, a situation where they neutralized, but those 10 were replaced by another 10 from Pakistan. So it was, I mean, we just didn't know where to go and what to do. I mean, whatever you did, there was a replacement from Pakistan, because Sikh youths were crossing the Punjab border and then coming back equipped with weapons, equipped with training, indoctrinated, brainwashed. That was in that situation. I worked out a plan. You see, we were very vigilant on the borders, and yet, you see, you can't be manning every inch of the border. And then I said, no, something has to be done. I mean, I have to stop this business of infiltration and exfiltration, both. I mean, movement inside India and movement from India to Pakistan, both have to stop. Then I devised a plan that we should fence the border. Now, this was a revolutionary proposal, and which my own department did not approve. But I sold this idea to the governor of Punjab, and the governor of Punjab sold this idea to the Minister of Internal Security, Mr. Chidambaram, and they were all convinced that yes, the border must be fenced. At that stage, I mean, just to complete the story, I got the designs of fencing from the fence which is there between North and South Korea. I got that design. I got the design of the fence between US and Mexico border. And then, I mean, we formed a committee of which I was the chairman, and then we devised, we prepared a design which was superior to both. It was better than the American fence. It was better than the Korean fence. And we submitted that design to the Ministry of Home Affairs. They approved it. And then they asked the CPWD to erect a fence across the border. Now, once that fence came up, it was, number one, it was the most formidable fence in the world. At that time, not today, but at that time, it was the most formidable fence in the world. And once that fence came up, and the fence was backed by, of course, BSF pickets all along the border. So it was a kind of double security. I mean, if you cross the fence somehow, you will have to contend with the BSF pickets. So at that stage, the terrorists found that crossing the border became an extremely, extremely difficult proposition. And so a situation came where if the Punjab police neutralized 10, they were replaced by 1 or 2. So, I mean, then I mean, whatever results what Punjab were achieving, they started showing in the sense that the number of terrorists started going down, and it was about 400 was about the number, I mean, the hardcore terrorists. And then once that number came below 100, we knew that the battle is going to be won. So, I mean, we stopped, the border security force stopped the supply of oxygen from Pakistan and prepared the groundwork for Punjab police success. So that was a tremendous contribution, and it is for this contribution that the government of India awarded me the Padama Shree in 1991. So, I mean, career-wise, my tenure in Kohima was very thrilling. My career in my 4 years in Punjab were very exciting. But otherwise, if you talk in terms of as DGP, I think UP was the toughest posting. Because,
okay, sir. So I think you wrote a book also in your experience about your experiences in Kohima.
There is a book Kohima to Kashmir. There's a book Kohima to Kashmir, in which I have, because I started Kohima, my career, in fact, you can say my difficult career started from Kohima in 1963, and then, no, I'm sorry, 65 to 68. And then the toughest part, I mean, you can say then it ended with Kashmir in the sense that I was Director General BSF, and Kashmir was my primary responsibility. And Kashmir those days was as serious a problem, or perhaps more serious a problem than it is today. And in Kashmir, BSF was in the vanguard of internal security operations.
I think, sir, we could talk about that also, and it will need a separate interview. But today I had focused my questions on the police reform thing. So I would like to ask you a question about that. Like, I think you filed the PIL in Supreme Court for the restructure of police forces after you retired. So I wanted to know that what was the major incident or experiences which motivated you to go on for this process? Because I think this needed a lot of courage.
See, Pallavi, during my 35 years of career, I came across several, there were several incidents of a controversial nature. When I found that when I am taking up the right cause, when I'm trying to uphold the rule of law, when I'm trying to improve things and sort of root out corruption, I found that instead of getting support from the establishment, I found myself at loggerheads with the establishment. The people in power did not want me to do those things. And they created a situation where I was, instead of my work being appreciated, I found myself in the dock. Indeed, as DIG Merit, that was my first charge as a Deputy Inspector General of any range. I carried out what I thought was a crusade against corruption. But that crusade brought me into conflict with the vested interests. Those vested interests united, and they complained against me to the Home Minister of India that, look, this man is, you see, while carrying out the crusade, I punished a whole lot of subordinate staff. Whosoever I found corrupt and involved in corrupt practices, I said, no, you better go, either transferred to lines or suspended or departmental action taken. I was ruthless in dealing with the corrupt elements. Now, these ruthless elements, they combine, and unfortunately for me, they belong to the same community as the Home Minister of India. They went and complained to him that, sir, this man is against us and you must save us. And he was a great man, mind you. The Home Minister of India was a great man, but somehow, jise kehte hain na, kaan ke kache the wo. So he believed those complaints and he said, no, Prakash Singh. He was very annoyed with me. He called me to the North Block in Home Ministry and he started firing me. I stood my ground. I said, no, sir, I have not done anything wrong. Whatever I have done is against wrong elements, corrupt elements. They were involved in this. When he found that I'm not prepared to relent and I was justifying, he said, no, all right, you can go. I don't want to talk to you. I saluted him and walked out of the office. Before I could reach Meerut, I found that my transfer orders had been received. And not only the transfer order, but that was followed by instructions to the Chief Minister of UP, who was a protege of the Home Minister of India. Instructions to the Chief Minister of UP that Prakash Singh should be placed under suspension. Now, that was too much for me. But fortunately for me, I would say the bureaucracy those days had some spine. Orders were sent to the state government of UP. The Chief Secretary and the Home Secretary, they all knew me. And they knew that, no, Prakash Singh cannot be doing such things which are being alleged against him. So when the Chief Minister called them and said Prakash Singh should be suspended, they said, no, sir, but we can suspend him. Yes, sir. But we need to conduct a preliminary inquiry against him on whatever charges are there.
You have
so, yes, the Chief Minister produced a piece of paper. They read it and they could see that it was a fictitious. But just try to gain time, they said, sir, we will suspend him, but we will conduct an inquiry. And this inquiry we will complete within a week. And then we will place him under suspension. So the Chief Minister was satisfied that, yes, the procedure has to be gone through. An inquiry by the anti-corruption was conducted. They found the result was zero. Absolutely wrong, frivolous allegations. And then they said, sir, sorry, there's absolutely nothing against him. How do we suspend him? Meanwhile, I would say some kind of divine help came to me. How that divine help came to me? I had been nominated a few months back for a course in Australia, and that course materialized exactly at that time. So I packed my bags, and before they could think of further damage to me, I packed my bags and went to Australia, Melbourne, where I underwent a course for 4 months in the Administrative Staff College. By the time I came back, things had cooled down. So that was the first traumatic experience. But like this, I had other experiences also. I was DGP Assam. I don't think I'll be able to go into the details of what happened. Suffice it to say that a situation was created where I found that, my freedom is being curtailed, my autonomy is being encroached upon. And I told the Chief Minister that, look, if you interfere in my functioning like this, I am not prepared to function as DGP Assam. For me, my principles were more important than the attraction of a job. I said, no, I can't function in these conditions. And I sent him a written letter that I may be relieved of my responsibility as DGP Assam because I'm not prepared to work under these circumstances where there is day-to-day interference. They were also happy to get rid of me. this man is very adamant and he wants to do, he insists on doing things his own way, so better go. So I left that. Then as DGP also, DGP UP also, it was a very peculiar situation. You see, on a particular day, the Chief Minister called me and without any forewarning, he said that you have been removed from the post of DGP, this, that. Now, the irony of it was that only 2 days before, 2 or 3 days before, he had, in a public speech, said that law and order has been the greatest achievement of state government. Improved law and order is the greatest achievement of the state government. And it was. There is no doubt about it. For the first time during my tenure in the history of UP, for the first time during my tenure, a relentless campaign against the mafia was carried out. But there is a campaign against mafia today also, but there's a difference. That campaign in the 90s in UP was under my supervision, under my direction, and under my inspiration. The campaign today is under the inspiration of Yogi ji, under the Chief Minister. Then it was under the inspiration and direction of the DGP. That is the difference between the two campaigns. Of course, the present campaign is more relentless. It is having greater impact than the campaign which I undertook, because now it has Chief Minister's blessings, and the Chief Minister is a no-nonsense man. Bulldozer Yogi, as they have started calling him. So the point is that here is the Chief Minister praising police achievements on law and order front 2 days before, and then he hands over transfer orders to me, saying that you are relieved of your charge. Why he did that? Again, it's a very long political story. Why he had become annoyed with me. He was annoyed with me, and the bureaucracy was unhappy with me, because the bureaucracy found that here is a DGP who does not carry out government orders very faithfully. You see, my principle was that if you issue a wrong government order, instead of complying with it, what I used to do, I used to take that order to the Chief Minister, explain to him that, look, sir, this is a wrong order which the Home Department has issued for reasons A, B, C, D, E, F. He would be convinced, because I had no personal agenda, and my arguments were based on solid facts. So every time he would say, Singh Saab, aisa hai, aap likh ke bhej dijiye कि साहब आपके चीफ मिनिस्टर से डिस्कशन हो गया और मुख्यमंत्री ने कहा है कि ये हुक्म वापस लिया जाए. तो several orders of the Home Department I just sent back. So they were very annoyed that here's the DGP who doesn't carry out our orders. So they were also annoyed with me, and they were jealous of my, you can say, my growing stature, my growing popularity, and my larger than life image in the state at that time. So they all conspired, and of course, on the political front, there are certain things that happened which had made the Chief Minister unhappy with me. Here again, it's just a matter of principle for me. So he said, you better go. So that was again a shock for me, but because I felt that now I'm at the end of my career. Now, instead of ending the career on a glorious note, on a note of satisfaction, on a note of happiness, I am being thrown out. And I was thrown out very unceremoniously, because at about 11:30 or 12 o'clock, around that time, the Chief Minister gives me the transfer order, and then he said that by 1:30, you should hand over charge. No, a DGP's charge is not even a constable gets a few days to hand over charge. DGP was given just hardly 2 hours to hand over charge. Anyway, I went through, I just came back to the office and handed over charge to my successor and left. That was another humiliating experience. So, I have given you 3 instances. There were several others also, but these 3 were major instances: my humiliation as DIG Meerut, my refusing to serve as DGP Assam because the Chief Minister was very interfering type, and then my ouster from the post of DGP. I said there's something drastically wrong with the system. Something drastically wrong with the system, where an officer wants to do good, he is well motivated, he is conscientious, but he cannot deliver because the establishment does not like it that way. So I said, no, there is something wrong. And what was wrong was the executive dominance over the police. You see, the executive completely dominates the police. They have a stranglehold over the police. They can transfer you, they can suspend you, they can harass you, they can stop your pension, they can frame cases against you, all kinds of things they can do. Point is, the police should be, as Shah Commission recommended long ago after the emergency, the police, it was one of the fundamental recommendations of Shah Commission was that the police should be insulated from all kinds of outside pressures, meaning thereby that if there is a situation where I have to decide on what action is to be taken. My action should be governed by what is written in the law, what is written in the constitution, and not what the chief minister says, or what the home department says, or what the chief secretary says. No, what the law of the land says, that should be my primary concern. But it is not that. Today, what happens is, if a wrong order is issued by the government, police officers
They will have to.
promptly comply with it and do all kinds of things which normally should not be done. So I said, no, this is a wrong system where we are compelled by the pressure of circumstances to obey wrong orders. We should have some kind of insulation, as recommended by the Shah Commission, as recommended by the National Police Commission. So that is why, these experiences forced me to think that something is wrong with the system. It needs to change. And therefore, I, on the basis of whatever the National Police Commission had recommended, I prepared a petition. And that petition was filed in 1996. And 2006 came the judgment.
Yes, sir. And that was my second question for you. Around, I guess it took 10 years for Supreme Court to give its judgment. And I read about it in brief. And I think the judgment gave 7 main directives, which included fixing tenure of IG, DGP, seven main, and IG, DGP, and establishment of, I think, state police complaint authority, and many more things. But as far as I know, not much of it has been implemented so far. So what is your take on it? Like, you gave your 10 years for this and still...
You see, not much has happened, but let me tell you, Pallavi, that there is so much pressure from the judiciary that the states are willy-nilly gradually moving in the direction of reforms. It's a very slow process. But if you examine the affidavits with the file before the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court keeps on asking them, what is your status of compliance? What have you done to set up a state security commission? What have you done to set up complaints authority? So every time they are required to submit affidavits. And on paper, they all want to be on the right side of the Supreme Court. They don't want to get hauled up for contempt. So they say, sir, we have done this, and we have set up this commission, that commission. So they have done a lot of things on paper. But in the process, they have tweaked the Supreme Court order. They have sort of given a new interpretation, and you can even say they have. It's a kind of farcical compliance, but compliance on paper is there. But even when you are perpetrating a farce, if you pretend to be complying, you have to be doing something in that direction.
Yes.
You have to be doing something. So the states are very gradually, very steadily, and very slowly. It is a snail's pace. But they are moving in the direction of reforms, and they all say that, no, sir, we are fully compliant of Supreme Court directions, and we are doing this and we are doing that. So, they have set up state security commissions, they have set up police establishment boards, they have set up complaints authorities. But in the process, what they have done, they have diluted the composition of the board. For example, there had to be a state security commission. And the idea behind the state security commission was that 50% of the members would be from the government and 50% from the civil society. So that the State Security Commission has objectivity in its decisions. Half members from government, half members from civil society. And it was said that the civil society members should be men of unimpeachable integrity. Now, what they have done, while taking members from the civil society, they have taken those members who are known supporters or camp followers of the government. Now, that sort of subverts the purpose behind setting up State Security Commission. The idea was that there should be an independent watchdog, which would ensure that the government does not interfere in the day-to-day functioning of police on the one hand, and the police does not transgress the limits of law. That was the objective. That was the mandate of the State Security Commission. But when you pack it with your supporters and chamchas and followers, and then it ceases to be an independent body. So likewise, while they have set up institutions mandated by the Supreme Court, but either the composition has been diluted, or the powers have been curtailed, or the uh, mandate has been greatly circumscribed. Now, it was said that any recommendation by the State Security Commission or any finding of the complaints authority should be binding on the state government. But they have said that no, yes, there will be a complaints authority, there will be a State Security Commission, but its recommendations will not be binding. Now, when it is not binding, then you may as well not have that institution. I mean, if you have the freedom to sort of reject that, no, we don't accept this recommendation of the State Security Commission, then even if whether the commission is there or not there makes no difference to you, right? So while as I said, while they have set up the institutions, but they have diluted the composition, they have reduced the powers, and they have tried every clever mechanism they have thought of subverting the spirit of the Supreme Court orders. So not much has happened. So not much has happened on the ground, but things are moving gradually. And the best part is that I would say that during these 15 years, the fact of police reform has entered the consciousness of the average educated Indian. Now you're talking about police reforms. You're talking, so many other people are talking about police reforms. Even people who have not read the 7 directives as you have read, even they talk of police reforms without knowing what police reforms really mean. So, and every time something wrong happens on the police front, on the law and order front, they will say these things are happening because police reforms are not being implemented. So it is a part of the, you can say, public conversation, public dialogue, that police reforms are required. They must happen. They must take place for things to improve in this country. At least this feeling, this thought has entered the consciousness of the average educated Indian, which I think itself, by itself, is a great achievement.
Yes.
Now, because I mean, and I find that so many NGOs across the country, they are in their own small sphere talking of police reforms.
Okay.
So I mean, things are moving slowly, but I'm sure
it will take time.
This has some kind of a historical process. Police reforms have to happen in India because India has to progress. Therefore, police reforms have to happen. They will happen one day or the other. Even the Prime Minister talked of a smart police, sensitive police and mobile police and all that. But not much has been done in that direction, but people realize that we need a smart police not in terms of dress, not in terms of sartorial elegance, but smart police in terms of being sensitive, mobile, techno-savvy and all that.
Yes, definitely. Okay. So, sir, I think your PIL was mostly intended to minimize the politicization of police. You were the victim of it as well. So, and today also the scenario seems like the similar one, like it is visible that police is under politicization and political pressure. So according to you, what are the things that should be implemented in order to remove the political pressure from the police on personal and institutional level? Also personal level, I am asking you because you served on 3-4 top positions after locking heads with the authority and all. So how you manage that? So I wanted to share your experiences and thought about it, like how a police officer can be free of political pressure and how he should work.
You see, whenever I address junior police officers, I tell them one thing, that look, a politician will exercise only that much pressure on you which you allow him to.
Allow him.
Once he knows that this officer will not go beyond this limit, he will not transgress that limit. You should build that image. And I say that you should build that image from day one, the day you start service. That yes, I will be respectful to you. I will consider anything legitimate, anything genuine which you say, but don't expect me to do things which are unlawful and which are against public interest. Let that be the message which you as a police officer should be able to convey in your public dealings. And once you start doing that, then that kind of image starts building up. And let me tell you, Pallavi, I mean, when I became DGP, I mean, out of the 50 plus ministers of the state government, I think more than 30 never rang me up for any sifarish. Never rang me. Only about 10 used to ring me up. But others would not ring me up. Why? Because they knew that if Prakash Singh says no, nobody in the state will be able to get that work done. चीफ सेक्रेटरी, होम सेक्रेटरी, गवर्नमेंट ऑफ यूपी, कोई कुछ नहीं करा पाएगा. अगर चीफ डीजीपी ने ना कह दिया तो वो ना हो गया, खत्म. इसलिए डीजीपी से सिफारिश मत करो, ये खतरनाक आदमी है, किसी और से कहो. बिकॉज अच्छा, दे ऑल्सो न्यू दैट ये आदमी इतना ऐसा है दैट इसको ज्यादा दबाव डालोगे तो ये लात मार के, कुर्सी को लात मार के चल देगा.
Okay, you did.
He is not bothered about his service. He is not bothered about his job. But we need him. But we need an officer like him. So we should not create a situation where he says to hell with you.
Yes.
So that was the kind they knew, and they respected me. I mean, I think the worst politicians respected me. They may have made unreasonable requests, this, that, but they knew in the heart of hearts. I mean, Mr. Kalyan Singh threw me out as DGP. But let me tell you a small incident. He was traveling in an aeroplane. He was Governor Rajasthan. He was traveling in an aeroplane from Jaipur to some place. And my son was also a police officer. He's also a police officer. He was also traveling from Jaipur to some. Now, it just happened that there were seats. They were sitting side by side. So after some time, when they introduced each other, oh, are tum Prakash Singh ke bete ho? Oh, and then for 10 minutes he kept on praising me. Now, here's a chief minister who threw me out, who insulted me, who humiliated me. But in the heart of hearts, he knew कि प्रकाश सिंह आदमी ठीक है और आदमी मतलब हमारे बेटे से हमारी खाली तारीफ करते रहे. And he had no compulsion to praise me. He was the governor of Rajasthan. So I mean, even people who opposed me, they respected me for my principles. That's all. That they knew that he has no personal agenda. And if you press him beyond a point, he will say, to hell with it. To hell with this job, you can take it. So, I mean, this politicization business, once police officers take this attitude, see, politicization would decrease. The point is, the problem is that today think that for survival, we need to koto. No, you don't need to koto. After all, say if, let me put it this way. If 7-8 officers at the top decide that we shall not koto before the politicians, we will not carry out their wrong recommendation, then what will they do? कहाँ से वो डीजीपी लाएंगे? अरे भाई यही तो अफसर हैं, इन्हीं से तो काम लेना है. अगर सब आदमी उसी तरह निकलता है तो भाई तो फिर तो इनके साथ हमें समझौता करना पड़ेगा. That kind of attitude they will have to have. So I mean, the problem is that today, if there is one principled officer, there are 5 or 7 other officers who are prepared to say, sir, मुझको डीजीपी बना दीजिए, मैं आपका हुक्म सिर आंखों पे रहेगा. आप दिन को रात कहेंगे तो मैं रात कह दूंगा. So such officers are ready to step into the shoes of their predecessors. So there is a problem. A principled officer finds fighting a lone battle, then he's eased out, he's thrown out, and then others who are obliging find themselves installed in important positions. So I mean that is the way to deal with politicians. I think we need to sort of uplift our character and our commitment to the job, commitment to service, commitment to the country. That is paramount instead of surviving. I mean, I remember one of my gurus in police, Mr. Jain Chaturvedi, he used to say, and I remembered this lesson for the rest of all my life. He said, it is better to be a dead lion than a living dog. As long as you are occupying a chair, you should be thundering, you should be hectoring, you should be commanding, instead of just squeaking and wagging your tail before the politician and then carrying out his directions. So I remember that lesson.
Okay. And sir, the Supreme Court order also gave a directive in regards to the separation of police for investigation and law and order maintenance.
Yes.
So how much do you think that we need a specialized police personnel for specific jobs so that our policing could be improved? Because now I think policing is very much juggled, like there is no separation. So how much you think this specialized force?
Why did we make this recommendation? You see, in big towns, I mean, big towns with a population of say 10 lakhs and above, there are law and order problems every day. I mean, there may be a student strike, there may be a labor problem, there may be a communal problem, there may be a caste riots, there may be demonstration, there may be farmers agitation, there may be VIP visits by a prime minister or chief minister. There is a law and order problem almost every second day or third day in a metropolitan town. Now, when there is a law and order situation, the prime anxiety of the deputy commissioner of police or the commissioner of police, depending on how big that place is, his prime anxiety is कि आज का दिन खैरियत से निकल जाए, एक कम्युनल सिचुएशन कंट्रोल में हो जाए, प्राइम मिनिस्टर साहब यहाँ से खैरियत से चले जाएं. That is his prime anxiety. आज का दिन ठीक से निकल जाए, नहीं तो हमारी नौकरी चली जाएगी. I mean, that is the kind of feeling they get. So during that situation, they mobilize all their resources. All the police station staff is, you can say, pumped into police duty in duties to deal with that situation.
Like that.
हाँ, कि भाई आज की crisis तो निकाल दो. So once that crisis is over, then you can go back to your jobs. But by the time they get back to their jobs, again there is another crisis. So why come again? So we said, now in the process, what was happening? Investigation work was suffering. Investigation work was becoming shoddy. I mean, you are doing law and order work, more law and order work than investigation. So investigation, and when there was pressure for by charge sheet का time हो रहा है, इसको charge sheet file करो. अब investigation तो किया नहीं, charge sheet कच्ची अधूरी कच्ची charge sheet file कर दी. So then it became a problem. The investigation quality was going down. So National Police Commission had recommended that in metropolitan towns, they said in population of 5 lakh and above, the law and order work and the investigation work should be separated, and the investigation staff should be doing investigation irrespective of the law and order situation in the district. Even if there is a serious law and order situation, the investigation staff would continue doing its investigation, and it will not be within the powers of the Deputy Commissioner of Police or the Commissioner of Police to deploy that staff for law and order work. They will continue to do investigation. So they said investigation staff separate, law and order staff separate. That was the recommendation. Now, a National Police Commission recommendation was for 5 lakh population. I said 5 lakh population mein to bahut shahar aa jayenge. So I said, all right, let it be 10 lakhs at least. Let us do it at, and the Supreme Court accepted that. And they also said that yes, metropolitan towns with a population of 10 lakh and above, commissionerate system should be there. And this recommendation has been made by Administrative Reforms Commission. It has been made by National Police Commission. It has been made by, there's a parliamentary committee which recently submitted its report on training. There also they have said the commissionerate system should be promulgated in all the metropolitan towns. So it is a universal recommendation of every committee which has been appointed by Government of India at different periods of time. Commissionerate system should be appointed, and there should be investigation and law and order work should be separate. So now, in separating investigation work from law and order, you need some more staff. Because now in a law and order situation, now you can't utilize the investigation staff. So you need more law and order staff.
You need to add.
So if you want to implement this scheme, you need to augment the strength of the police in every metropolitan town. Now that increase in manpower is not such a big problem. As it is, we have more than 500,000 vacancies across the country. These people should be recruited, and more men should be made available for law and order duties. So adding as it is, police strength is increasing every year. So providing the extra manpower for the law and order duty should not be a big problem. It is just that there is, you can say, lethargy and indifference on the part of the state governments. Otherwise, this was the simplest and the least controversial, or I can say there is no controversy around this. All the none of the state governments have opposed this separation. It is just that they are either not doing it or doing it half-heartedly. And because once you talk of more manpower, it means increasing the budget. And they are generally very reluctant to increase the police budget. Police budget is a very low priority for most of the state governments. So that is the problem. Otherwise, separation of investigation from law and order was the simplest of Supreme Court's recommendations, and this should have been implemented without any delay.
Okay, so sir, as per the 2020 reports, I think the charge sheet by the police has increased. It is around 75%. And the conviction rate has also increased around 50 or more than 50%. I don't remember it correctly. But do you think that this separation of police force for investigation and law and order and other tasks will help us, for to increase the conviction rate to for the transparent investigation? Do you think it leads to that? It is
Yes, but
important.
it will definitely improve the quality of investigation. When the investigators
Yes.
are doing their job dedicatedly and there is no diversion, there is no sort of deployment or law and order duties. When they are dedicatedly doing it, then the quality of investigation will definitely improve. And quality of investigation, once that improves, conviction rate will also go up. See, presently we
Yes.
find in a whole lot of cases, the courts, whether High Court or Supreme Court, they are passing strictures on police investigation. They are passing these
Hmm.
strictures because investigation is shoddy, is slipshod,
Yes.
is badly conducted. So they pass these structures. Once the quality of investigation improves, conviction rate will improve, and I think we'll have less adverse comments from the judiciary.
Yes. Definitely. So, sir, like we were talking about the whole police reforms and what was your motivation and ideas behind it. So now, when I ask you that, what is your vision for the police in the country? How you want it should look like?
You see, when I think of the police,
Hmm.
you see, the total strength of the state police in this country is about 2.5 million.
Hmm.
And you add to that the strength of the CAPF, that's also 1 million. So 3.5
Hmm.
million. Imagine
Hmm.
a force of 35 lakh people in the country. Particularly
Hmm.
this 25 lakh is solid. I mean, they are the real, they are the
Police.
sinews, the muscle and the power of the state police. Now
Hmm.
imagine these 25 lakh people working in a spirit of dedication, in a spirit of commitment, in a spirit of service.
Hmm.
Imagine, and there are, more than 25,000 police stations and outposts across the country. I mean, this is
Hmm.
the most pervasive department. It covers every part of the country.
Hmm.
Revenue and police, they cover every part of the country. But revenue has, other kind of function. But police directly impacts your life
Hmm.
in a very difficult manner. I mean, in the sense that when you are in
Hmm.
problem, there is no option except to go to the police. So if
Police.
these 25 lakh police start working with a different attitude,
Hmm.
the attitudinal change that we need is today they think
Hmm.
they're a force. I think they should
Hmm.
consider themselves a service. After all, we call ourselves
Hmm.
Indian Police Service. We don't call ourselves
Yes.
Indian Police Force. Indian Police, we are meant to serve the people. The attitude should change from force to that of service. And how do you serve? Not by sort of distributing the meals or that you may do to supplement, but serving in the sense that when you are in distress, when
Hmm.
you have been robbed of your property, when somebody has snatched your chain, or somebody has done something wrong to you, or some other crime has happened, whatever it is, then you are looking for help. And where do you go?
Hmm.
You don't go to the advocate, you don't go to the politician, you don't go to the doctor, you have to go to the police.
Police.
And that is the time when, if you don't get the right kind of help, you feel really hurt. You feel really hurt
Yes.
that where do you go? Where do you
Hmm.
go? And in a situation where, people talk of nexus between politicians and criminals and corrupt police officers and bureaucrats. In places where there is a nexus, it's a terrible predicament for the common man. Where do you go?
Hmm.
You go to
Hmm.
the police, they will not help you because
Hmm.
he is mixed up with politicians, and he is feeding the politician is supporting him. So it creates a
Hmm.
situation where you feel helpless and you do not know where to go. And
Hmm.
when this kind of helplessness comes, then a section of the people decide to take up arms. That
Hmm.
now, we have to seek redressal of our grievance. See, that is where that explains, in a very superficial way, I would say, the growth and the expansion of the Naxalite movement in this country.
Yes.
For the last 50
Yes.
years, this movement has been there and we have not been able to crush it. Why?
Gosh.
Because there are genuine grievances relating to land which have not been addressed.
Yes.
So I mean, this is a very bad situation, and I would say that once that attitudinal change comes, it will be a revolution, a revolution uh, that I mean, as I by way of example, I say when you go to a hospital, even if it's a poorly equipped hospital, even if it's a small district hospital, or even if it's a primary health center, when you go there, you go with a feeling of confidence कि भैया वहां जाएंगे पट्टी लग जाएगी, कुछ इंजेक्शन
ठीक हो
लग
जाएगी.
जाएगा, कुछ तो हो जाएगा, कुछ हमारी
Yes.
तबीयत शायद ठीक हो जाएगी, ज्यादा सीरियस होगी तो फिर एक्सरे हो जाएगा, एमआरआई हो जाएगा बड़े अस्पताल में. You go with that feeling. You may not get cured. You may die in the hospital. Yet you go
But
there
you
with the
are
feeling. You go there with the
with a
feeling
hope.
of optimism, with the feeling of hope.
Yes.
Similarly, I say when a man comes to a police station, he should come with that feeling of hope that I'm going to a police station where people would come forward to help me, come forward to sort of retrieve my lost property, sort of find out a girl who has gone missing from the family, find out a child who has gone astray, or anything wrong. They will come. They will they will try to help us, and they will try to salvage the situation for us. Once that feeling develops, I think that will be the dawn of a new India, I would say. That
Yes.
will be the
Yes.
dawn of, that is the kind of police I imagine. And that is the kind
Yes.
of police I tried to build up wherever I was. And when I was in DGP UP, when I was DGP UP, I mean, whatever changes I brought about, one of the leading Hindi dailies of the country published an article, and I quote that with a sense of pride. The caption of the caption of the article was Uttar Pradesh mein Prakash ki kiran.
Okay, Prakash. And
So, I mean, it was a tribute to whatever changes I had been able to bring about.
yes.
But these changes somehow don't last because when the principle of one step forward, two steps backward, that keeps on operating in a very
Yes.
perverse way.
Yes. Okay, sir. So now I'll come to the representation of women in police. Like if I talk about the overall data, I guess it sits around 16 to 17%, and if it varies state-wise. So do you think like we are lacking? What is the reason that women representation in police is still
No,
lacking, and why it is needed to improve, or it is like it is fine,
no,
whatever it is.
look, I think there should be no pessimism or there should be no despondency because if you analyze the number of women in police year after year, every year the figures are going up. It's a
Going up.
trajectory, it's a curve which is steadily going up. And
Yes,
you should not try to jump start. I mean, from 3 lakhs, you should not think of going to 10 lakhs the very next year.
10 lakhs.
Any
It
process when
will
it is
take time.
any process which is gradual is stable.
Hmm.
The numbers are
Hmm.
going up. I mean, every year the percentage is increasing, and the government is committed to having 33% women in the police, and that they should be able to achieve within the next 10 years, which is good enough. I don't
Hmm.
think we need to accelerate the process because you see, if you accelerate please remember that when you are employing women in police, you need a
Hmm.
certain infrastructure also to be in place. Just having
That was
bodies
my
is
question.
not enough. You need a
Yes.
certain infrastructure which should suit the women, which should
Hmm.
look after their peculiar needs and
Hmm.
requirements also.
Hmm.
So, I mean, it is, as I said, the figures are steadily going up.
Hmm.
Recruitments are, and more girls are coming forward.
Hmm.
And those who are fit enough, they are being recruited. I think there's nothing to, I mean, the criticism that figures are not, have not reached 33%, it's an unwarranted criticism because figures are steadily going up and government is encouraging this kind of recruitment.
Yes.
And
Hmm.
recruitment will also depend upon the number of girls who come forward. You will not
Yes.
enter
Hmm.
people's houses and say, nahi, nahi, chalo tumhe bharti
Ask
hona.
them. Yes.
You won't do that.
Uh,
It has to be a willing girl, and
hmm.
she should voluntarily come forward, and then she
Hmm.
should meet the physical requirements and the educational requirements of recruitment. So it's a
Yes.
process which is going up, and the presence of women is necessary because after all, I mean, roughly you can say 50% of the population comprises women, and there are all kinds of problems when you're handling. Besides, nowadays I think women are breaking the glass ceiling, that glass ceiling where it was said that this kind of job women should be doing only
It's not
clerical
meant
job
for you.
or desk
Hmm.
job or
Hmm.
job which does not take them far from police
Oh.
station. You can say
Mhm.
combat roles should not be given. That that ceiling is broken now. And now women are
Hmm.
fighter pilots. Women are joining the BSF. I have seen girls doing patrolling on Punjab border against the Pakistan Rangers. So I mean, they have broken that glass ceiling also. So the more daring amongst them, the more outgoing against them, they could be sent on such duties also. So I mean, the numbers are increasing, and we need women now to uh, uh, not only cater to special needs, but they play a supporting role with men, shoulder to shoulder with them, and play their role in contributing to better security environment in the country.
Yes, sir. But you did mention that we need to, rebuild the infrastructure so that more and more women
Infrastructure.
should come.
Mm,
Yes.
mm.
So, what kind of suggestion you have that this should be
No,
implemented?
infrastructure means you see you need separate accommodation for them.
Mm.
I mean, presently you have,
Definitely.
I mean, a lot of constables stay in police line. Now you can't mix
Mm.
men and women there. You must have
Mm.
separate accommodation for
Mm.
them. Then
Mm.
from the hygiene point of view, they have certain requirements. Those requirements have to be put in place. So
Mm.
and then you need separate uniform for them, different
Mm.
uniform from them from what
Mm.
men wear. So all
Mm.
that is a gradual process. It's a gradual process. I mean, getting infrastructure
Mm.
and getting
Yes, and definitely.
their needs and requirements. Any process which moves steadily and gradually, I think that is more stable than sort of
Yeah, long
uh,
lasting.
trying to pole vault and
Yes.
reach a very high percentage in very quick time.
Yes, definitely. Okay. Okay, sir. So now I would like you to, share your thing. How much the working of police has changed from your time to now? Like, what is the major change which you are seeing nowadays, which was not earlier?
The changes are for the good and also for the worse. The good
Yes.
change is that the police today is far better equipped. They have far
Hmm.
more resources, far more
Hmm.
vehicles, far better
Hmm.
communication equipment. I
Hmm.
mean, they have facilities which we could not dream of. They have all those facilities are there, and they have equipments which we never possessed. I mean, ours was in our time it was a simple lathi force with some 303 rifles. That was about all.
Hmm.
But now you have
Yes.
all the sophisticated weapons are there. Which we never handled. So equipment wise, resources wise, police is much better looked after
Hmm.
today than it was in our time.
Hmm.
That is the good part of it. The bad part of it is that the quality of politics in this country has
Hmm.
taken a nosedive, and this
Hmm.
quality of politics has a direct impact on the quality of policing,
Hmm.
because it is these politicians and the bureaucrats together who guide, control, and regulate the police. If they are not men of high principles,
Hmm.
they will be giving wrong set of directions to the men at their command. So, politics of the country having taken a nosedive, it is reflected in
Hmm.
policing of a lower quality, lower quality.
Hmm.
Which makes me very sad, because now you have so much equipment, resources, manpower, uh, but in terms of satisfaction to the people, have you improved? I mean, that makes me wonder. Have you improved?
Hmm.
Perhaps perhaps that improvement is missing. So as somebody said that people today are more knowledgeable, have more resources, but in terms of values, uh,
They like.
they have taken a hit. In terms of values, they have
Hmm.
taken a hit, and that is what makes me sad. And that is where the need for institutional reforms. You see, we cannot depend on. It is difficult to say that all right. It's very easy to say that highly principled policemen should be that policemen should be highly principled.
Hmm.
Policemen would be the same. You see, they come from the same society, so they will represent a certain standard. What you need
Hmm.
is to give them institutional protection.
Hmm.
That institutional protection the Supreme Court has tried to give when they
Hmm.
accepted my prayers for a state security commission, for a police establishment board, for a complaints authority, for a procedure for the appointment of DGP. All that institutional protection they have tried to give. But this institutional protection, as I said, has been has not been really implemented in letter and spirit.
Implement.
Uh,
Hmm.
so that is where the problem comes up.
Yes. Okay. Okay, sir. So, in the last, I would like to, give a message for the youth who are aspiring to join police forces.
Well, my message to the youth is that if you want to join the police force, do join. Have no reservations. And in retrospect, I would say that if you want to be a karma yogi, there is no
Mm-hmm.
better service than police. If you want
Police.
to good to the people, yes, in the process you will have to be prepared to suffer. But if you want
Yes.
to do good to the people, do good to the society, if you want to fight against the wrong elements, the criminals and mafia and terrorists, I mean, it's a life full of adventure and thrill. And in
Mm.
retrospect, it gives you a tremendous sense of satisfaction and achievement that you have done something for the country and something for the people.
Yes.
But in the process, you should be prepared to sacrifice. You should be prepared to suffer. If you are not prepared for that, if you are mentally not prepared for that, then just keep out of the police, join some clerical service where you are
Mm.
where you become a good pen pusher. But here
Mm.
you have to do pen pushing, and also you have to also wield the sword or the rifle today. I mean, here
Mm.
you are doing both. I mean, they say pen is mightier than the sword. So here you are. I mean, on pen also
Mm.
you have to be strong with the pen, and you have also to be strong with the sword.
Sword. Yes. Okay. Okay, so thank you so much, sir. I think this conversation could go long on and on, but we have limited time. So I'll wrap it up by thanking you. And it was really a nice experience for me. I also enriched. So thank you so much. And I would like to do this again. And thank you for coming. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Pallavi. Thank you.